The internet and social media sites and chat rooms and all of that is an evil in our society. This is disgusting and disturbing. It's in reading through the pre-sentence investigation and some of the comments that you made in these chat rooms is absolutely disturbing. But this crime cannot be ignored. Mr. Hartman, anything on behalf of the state?
Your Honor, I know the pre-sentence investigation did a very nice job of summing up the facts of this particular case and for the purposes of sentencing. One of the most, I think, damaging facts of this particular case is this defendant engaged 10 different people in obtaining abuse material from his own collection, and then he got additional images from them. And he did it over a relatively short period of time. But, that is an infection that this defendant engaged in with regard to sharing this kind of material with these large numbers of people. I know the court, through the pre-sentence investigation, could see and saw the very explicit messaging this defendant was engaged in conversing with these 10 people, talking about his behaviors with regard to young children, and that's what he was doing. That's what he was alleging that he was engaging in, and clearly that was what was depicted in several of the pieces of material that he was sharing and or possessed with regard to these particular offenses, and was sharing that with individuals. Just absolutely beyond any type of appropriate behavior that he was engaged in. He's looking at, multiple charges that he has now pled guilty to, which could send him to prison for hundreds of years. We think a sentence, a significant sentence in excess of 10 would be appropriate in light of what this defendant was engaging in with regard to his behaviors back in 2025. Thank you.
In this case, we're looking at a less than 6 month snapshot in time of a 60-year lifespan here. From the day that police interacted with Mr. Powers, he admitted to everything. He was cooperative. He was cooperative throughout this entire case with myself, with the jail staff, with the pre-sentence investigation staff. He admits, he's admitted from day one that he made a mistake, he messed up, and he's taken ownership of that. And I think that should go a long way towards at least consideration for his sentence, Your Honor. I submitted a sentencing memorandum which included multiple letters of support from community members, family members, that show what that 60-year period of time was. And that includes that 6 month period. He fell into I don't want to say a trap, he fell into a situation where he became involved with this online group, and it just kind of morphed and went out of control. He admits that was terrible, that was wrong, and he knows that's wrong. Faith is very important to Mr. Powers and his family, and throughout the precinct's investigation and throughout, he feels that it's the way he says it's the Satan or the devil taking over his life, and I don't think that is meant as a way of kind of casting a little bit of doubt on what he did. I think it's more just that he realizes he was walking in the arms of God and walking that life, and in his belief system. We all have our belief systems, whether it's from our parents, from our religion, from our work, or from our friends, or our sports, or whatever. And that faith has always been important and a huge part of his life. And he lost sight of that for a period of time, and he admits that. And I don't think he's trying to say that he didn't take those actions and it was somebody working through him. I think he's saying I lost sight of who I am and what I believe and what I should have been doing. I agree that every bit of this is a terrible case. Mr. Powers admits that these are terrible charges and terrible case. He he has a plan, he wants to get help, he was dealing with a number of stressors, but when he engaged in an online community, he morphed himself into, I guess, trying to fit in with that community and started telling stories, none of which were true, but they were terrible stories. They're the worst of the worst as far as the content of all of this. There's two things I've always said in my practice that we protect more than anything in the world: puppies and kids, and this dealt with kids. He never took actions to harm a child himself. He admits, though, that this does, by there being a economy for this kind of material, that causes the pain to children and in the world in general, and he admits that's wrong and that's terrible. I think as a defense attorney, I'm supposed to come in here and ask the court to put him on probation and give him a chance. But I think that would be disingenuous. I think that would just be something that I would be lying to myself. I'd be lying to the court. And I think Mr. Powers would be part of that lie as well, and he admits that. I know the state's asking for an excess of 10. I know the charges carry significantly more than that. But in looking at the PSI, Mr. Powers is a 60-year-old male who has never been in trouble before. No criminal history. Good work history, good family support, good community support, good involvement. I think, if we look at the 59.5 years as well as the 6 months of behavior, I think that shows a history of somebody that can avoid recidivism and be a contributing member to society. He's got a lot of work to do. It's not going to be easy, but I think in asking for a huge sentence, that also kind of discounts that being incarcerated for somebody is difficult. It's difficult on the person, it's difficult on the family, but it also it changes a person. And so the court has an opportunity to send him for as long as they want to. Could send him for the rest of his life if the court deemed appropriate. But the court also has the option to give him some prison time, to allow him to get the punishment, but yet still be able to get out and be a contributing member to his family and society. I've reviewed the sentences of the Warren County Common Pleas Court, and there's been a lot of different sentences over the years, but I don't know that I've found one that was greater than 10. From the start, when Brian, he goes by Brian, when we talked about the case, I was kind of had in my mind that, in my gut, having done this for 20 years, that a 4 to 6 year sentence is probably more fitting of what I've seen. But that's your call, Your Honor. He had one of the lowest ORAS scores, which is a tool that we've used to help find out what his risk of recidivism is. He had one of the lowest I've ever seen. I think it's probably maybe the second lowest I've ever seen, if not the lowest. And again, like I said, I've done this for 20 years and thousands upon thousands of cases, and I think that's significant. I ask that the court consider all of the letters that I submitted with my sentencing memorandum to show what kind of person Mr. Powers is. He's got a significant family support system that are here, and issue a sentence that is appropriate, and hopefully more along with what my large gut says. So we ask the court to consider all that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I thank you and the court for giving me this opportunity to speak this morning. Words cannot express my deep remorse and disgust for my offenses. I take full responsibility for everything I did. These acts have caused a large ripple effect on my family, my loved ones, and my church family. These last 5 months in jail have given me time for self-reflection and allowed me to renew my relationship with Christ, my Savior. My family and church family are completely behind me and supporting me in my receiving therapy and counseling after I complete my sentence. These crimes are not who I am. My wife is still my biggest cheerleader. My goal during my journey and after my release is to share my story and testimony with others to lead people to Christ and change society. With God's help, I can work toward the restoration of my family. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. The court has considered the statements made here today. The pre-sentence investigation. The court has reviewed the sentencing memorandum of the defendant and the letters of support submitted on behalf of the defendant. The purposes and principles of sentencing, the relevant seriousness and recidivism factors. Mr. Powers, I think you can agree that the internet and social media sites and chat rooms and all of that is an evil in our society. We have a problem in our society, in our community here in Warren County. This is disgusting and disturbing. It's in reading through the pre-sentence investigation and some of the comments that you made in these chat rooms is absolutely disturbing. I know that you claim to be a man of faith, so you know that our battle is not against flesh and blood, but against the evil in this world is the prince of darkness. I understand that. We at no time can ever let our guard down. It's something that you just have to maintain. Certainly, while since you've been caught in this, the risk of recidivism is probably pretty low, as demonstrated by your ORS score. But there is an element of punishment to this as well. I have an obligation to our community, to our society, to punish you now, and to do what I can to protect young, innocent children. I don't know that most people are aware of this, but I probably do search warrants. It's getting more and more anymore for this type of behavior in our county, which is disgusting. In good communities, Waynesville, Springboro, Mason. These are good communities with low crime rates. But this crime cannot be ignored. The court is going to find that you are not amenable to community control and that prison is necessary to fulfill the purposes and principles of sentencing, most explicitly punishment. So on count one, the court is going to order you to serve a period of minimum term of imprisonment of 8 years, maximum term of 12 years. I'm going to go through the other ones, counts 2, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. The court's going to order you to serve a term of 8 years of imprisonment on each of those to be served concurrent with count one. Counts 3, 5, and 6, term of imprisonment of 8 years, and again, all of those to be served concurrent with each other and with count one. Count 4, and that's counts 18 through 34, 18 months on each of those concurrent, and counts 35 through 63, 12 months on each of those to be served concurrent with each other. So your sentence is a term of imprisonment of 8 years, maximum term of 12 years. You have 145 days jail time credit. Court finds that you're indigent for the purpose of any fines, costs, or other financial sanctions. You're also subject to a mandatory period of post-release control, which means when you are released from prison, the Adult Parole Authority will supervise you for a period of 5 years. If you violate that supervision, the Adult Parole Authority can return you to prison for up to 1/2 of this court's original minimum term sentence. If your violation is that you commit another felony, you can be returned to prison for 1 year or the period that you have left on PRC, whichever is longer, and that time would run consecutive to any additional prison time that you get sentenced to. You are required to register in person with the sheriff of the county in which you establish residency within 3 days of coming into that county, or if temporarily domiciled for more than 3 days. You are also required to register in person with the sheriff of the county in which you establish a place of education immediately upon coming into that county. If you establish a place of education in another state, but maintain a residence or temporary domicile here, you're also required to register in person with the sheriff or other appropriate official in that other state immediately upon coming into that state. You're also required to register in person with the sheriff of the county in which you establish a place of employment if you have been employed for more than 3 days or an aggregate of 14 days in a calendar year. If you establish a place of employment in another state but maintain a residence or temporary domicile here, you're also required to register in person with the sheriff or other appropriate official in that other state if you've been employed for more than 3 days or an aggregate of 14 days in a calendar year. Employment includes volunteer services. You are required to provide to the sheriff temporary lodging information, including address and length of stay, if your absence will be for 7 days or more. After the date of the initial registration, you're required to periodically verify your residence address, place of employment, and/or place of education in person at the county sheriff's office no earlier than 10 days prior to your verification date. If you change residence address, place of employment, and/or place of education, you shall provide written notice of that change to the sheriff with whom you most recently registered and to the sheriff in the county in which you intend to reside or establish a place of employment and/or place of education at least 20 days prior to any change and no later than 3 days after change of employment. If the residence address change is not to a fixed address, you shall include a detailed description of the place or places you intend to stay and no later than the end of the first business day immediately following the day you obtain a fixed address. You must register with the sheriff that fixed address. You're further advised in accordance with federal law, you must report any international travel to your registering authority no less than 21 days prior to travel. Failure to do so may subject you to criminal prosecution. You shall provide written notice within 3 days of any change in vehicle information, email addresses, internet identifiers, or telephone numbers registered to or used by you to the sheriff with whom you most recently registered. You are required to comply with all of these above described requirements for a period of 25 years with in-person verification every 180 days. Since your expected residence address is located in Warren County, you shall register in person no later than 3 days after your release to the Warren County Sheriff's Office at 822 Memorial Drive, Lebanon, Ohio. Failure to register, failure to verify residence at the specified times, or failure to provide notice of a change in residence address or other required information as described above will result in criminal prosecution. You may be eligible to receive good time credit. Is he eligible for good time credit, Mr. Hardman, on this?
I don't know the answer to that.
All right, I'm going to read it. You may be eligible for good time credit against your minimum sentence for good behavior. The court has a right to deny your good time credit. A hearing would be held to make that determination. Regardless of whether you receive good time credit, you will be released when you finish your minimum term unless the Department of Corrections determines that you must remain in prison for bad conduct. The court is not involved in that decision. If you are not released when your minimum term ends, you will serve an additional specified period of time and given a new release date. You will serve until that date unless you are again denied release. This process could repeat until you are released or you finish your maximum term sentence. You do have a right to appeal the court's decision of your sentence to the 12th District Court of Appeals. If you want to appeal, you must file your notice of appeal within 30 days of today's date. If you can't afford to pay for the transcript or anything necessary for your appeal, that can all be provided to you at no cost. If you cannot afford an attorney, the court will appoint one for you at no cost. Mr. Hardman, did I leave anything out?
Your Honor, we would just ask one thing, which would be the confiscation and destruction of the phone which contained the contraband.
Any objection?
No, no.
All right, that'll be granted. Anything else, Mr. Hardman?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right. Mr. Beck, is there anything else?
Nothing further, thank you.
Mr. Powers, I understand that this seems harsh from your perspective, probably from their perspective, it's probably not harsh enough. The court tries to fashion a sentence that is unique and individualized. I do wish you luck, and I hope you find your way. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.